stream, it seems like it's pretty clean. Is anyone else able to verify that for me?
Let me try. Um,
I can verify Gavin's mustache has grown since the last time I saw him. And Michael H as well. Last time I saw you, you had a clean shave. Look at you.
I know.
Chameleon.
I was actually going to dress up today, but then Jamin and I and Marco talked this morning and last night. And I was like, oh, well.
Yeah, if I'm just with you guys, why the hell dress up, right, Mike? Okay. Anyway.
Well,
okay.
we are doing the first production of The Greatest Show on Earth, apparently. Yeah. Okay.
So are we ready?
I'm not sure.
Are we ready to go?
If we're everything's ready, Jamin. This is it. This is the show.
Yeah, everybody needs to come as they are, even Jamin, like Mr. Rogers. This is like Mr. Jamin's neighborhood. Jamin, when did you go from Darth Vader to Mr. Rogers?
Well, I hate
He's
to
got
say
quite
this,
the neighborhood.
but since you asked, and thanks for asking, I got older. I'm now 55. If I go into Denny's, I get the senior citizen special. So thanks for asking.
Wow. That's radical collective aging.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what's really interesting about this? Because B-Rep, we are on strict orders from my own self to not pump up your tires too much. But no, you're kind of responsible for this. And I would kind of like to hear, as we're going to go through the bullet points that Jamin had sent out, I would kind of like to start with this. It's actually perfect, not perfect, perfectly imperfect, as Marco and Victor said. But how is it that you and Jamin met? As much as either of you want to share that story, maybe spend 10 minutes on that, and let's introduce ourselves to the world here. Either of you can take it.
It is true that Jamin and I can talk for 10 minutes right now just about that one topic. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't know if we'll go that far, but yes.
Well, that's my question. How did you guys meet?
I think I found the block party in Jamin when it first started. I must have seen something on Facebook or something. I don't know. I don't think I had a direct introduction like by any friends. I think I saw a post or something, whatever, just kind of normal like that or innocuous or whatever. And then I just went and did what you guys did today. And as soon as I met Jamin, I was like, enthralled by his super unusual positivity and humor and background and intelligence. And most importantly, I ultimately look for good people when I'm net weaving and co-creating or just going about my flow in the universe of confusion and existential polymeta crises. So when I came across Jamin, I was like, if there were a tourist information director for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Jamin would be up for the running to be like, welcome to the galaxy. Here's your pamphlet. Here's your tour guide. We hope you have a great time. So I have a lot of love for Jamin, and he's tireless and he's generous. And all around, obviously, also attracts awesome-hearted people like Marco and everyone else who hangs out at the block parties. So I don't want to sound too woo, but it's kind of like a really good heart field that Jamin carries, most importantly. And then we stayed friends through that, and we haven't seen each other in the last year or two. We've had less contact, so I should say I'm much relishing this opportunity to see Jamin more regularly again, and I'm happy that it came through you guys connecting and finding your own friendship and another node in the web of coming together. So that's me. How about you, Jamin? Do you remember anything different as far as how we met? Do you remember our first messenger?
He's going to completely contradict you, right, Jamin?
No. That all sounds about right. So just to give a little background on the block party, the full name is the Collective Intelligence block party. And I've been working on collective intelligence in different ways in the past decade, little more than a decade now. As of late 2012, I became one of the leaders of the legalization of cannabis in the United States and actually worldwide. And I partnered up with my old friend, former Mexican President Vicente Fox, and we did kind of a bit of a tour of the hemisphere, starting with a press conference in Seattle that just drew everybody. We were front page of the Seattle Times the next morning and just all over Canadian, Mexican, and American media. And so that kind of gave me a really good first taste of collective intelligence, because we became an attractor for all these geniuses working on the legalization of cannabis. And then I started getting death threats from criminal drug cartels because we were being too successful. And now Mexico was starting to legalize, and other parts of Latin America and the United States and everything. So I kind of took a little detour from the world of cannabis to the world of collective intelligence. And it's been just a over 10-year journey with some notable highlights, working with the Emperor of Japan and his team. We started the Social Club at the End of the World after learning about Guy McPherson and his analysis of exponential global warming. And we ultimately netted out with, by the end of 2019, I and some colleagues said, wait a second, there's so many groups out there working on collective intelligence. Like we learned about Lauren Mignon and Charlie Blass and Tom Atlee with the Collective Intelligence Institute and so many things. And I said, wait a second, we're all fragmented, right? We're all basically saying fundamentally the same thing, which is let's get together and do collective intelligence and evolve it to collective superintelligence. And then we can solve all the world's problems, starting with the wicked ones and the polycrisis and all that. And so, so we said, what better way to do this than to throw a collective intelligence block party? Block off the ends of the street, no cars, and just for 24 hours, we get together. And that way it's friendly for any time. You can be in Madagascar, Zanzibar, I don't care where you are, but at some point in those 24 hours, you can make it. So come, show your face, tell us what you're doing, represent whatever group you came from, and let's do this. And so Brett answered the call. It was exactly people like Brett. Now, Brett's one of a kind, but I'm still going to say people like Brett, Mike, Victor. We've had an amazing jam session. Marco, Gavin, we haven't quite connected yet, but we're doing so here live and the broadcast. And but it's literally people like you all, who we were seeking to attract. And now, almost 4 years later, we started the block party in February 2020. I talk about 3 phases of the exponential, and collective superintelligence is on an exponential curve. But for the past decade, it's basically flatline. There's 3 phases to any exponential. Flatline, is it alive? Poke it with a stick. Is it moving? No, it looks like it's dead. That's flatline. And then there's the knee, when it starts to curve. And then the 3rd phase is vertical. It's when it effectively goes vertical as far as human perception is concerned. And so for the past 10 years, we've been flatline. That's how I see it. It's been happening, but no one can really detect it, because you really have to be deep into it and absolutely committed and put in the years, right? Waiting for Godot, waiting for this moment, because now, so ever since when I met Mike a week ago, minus a few hours, I was like, holy shit, we have entered the knee of the exponential. There's just something about Mike and his determination, positivity, personality, Canadianness, whatever the hell it is. I just said, this is it. We've entered the knee. Now, when you enter the knee, you still don't have a very steep slope, but you're in the knee. And wait a few days, and the slope will get steeper, and that's where we are now. Anyway, I'm going to pass the feather. Thank you all.
No, you're good. You're good, and you humble me as per usual, Jamin. So honestly, I'm going to kind of keep us to this. Gavin, please. I know that the introduction is going on live, but jump in anytime. And Marco, of course, Victor. We started off, Jamin, with, so what is CSI, which you basically just described. why is CSI?
You're asking, who are you asking?
I'm asking you to kind of set it up, but Brett or
Oh.
Gavin or anyone can like you already described what is CSI essentially. I mean, if you want to give a more definitive,
Yeah.
kind of comment on that, but the next one was why is CSI?
Yeah. So I would say a little bit more about what is CSI, and we all have our own visions, and I would ask everyone to jump in and share your own visions.
Absolutely.
And I apologize for hogging the mic for a few minutes, but then I'm going to give it.
No,
the rest of you.
Jamin, this is necessary. Don't worry. It's going to have to be. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So just imagine a universe, but instead of stars and planets, each one of those things represents a conversation. So like a sun would be like a big conversation, think Tony Robbins and millions of people watching. It's a funny example. But it's a good example because everyone is welcome to the world of collective intelligence. You don't have to be like genius level to play. So big stars, small planets, little moons, tiny conversations that no one's ever heard of. But what we need is a universal star chart, a map of the heavens, if you will, of all these conversations. What binds us together, to paraphrase Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? There is a force called the emergent collective superintelligence, which is humanity coming together in pure benevolence and love for life, love for our planet, love for our species, love for all species.
Gravity of human beings or something.
Right. But then really all life, all beings. I mean, my dog is a part of it. And so again, this universal map of the heavens is what's needed here to bring it all together so that these conversations can know about each other. We started off the block party with just a blank chalkboard saying, if you're here, come and we'll put you on the map, right? So it's this universe of conversations that's self-aware, a self-aware universe, meaning that each of us, little planets, big stars, small moons, whatever, little prints, that we're all self-aware of each other. Because the self is now the whole of all these conversations that live and breathe love, benevolence, sharing, openness, transparency. We're not here trying to make money. We're here to save, heal, and transform life on Earth. Now, Brett would have a much more enlightened way of saying that, but in my, little way of thinking, little prince here, we got to save life on Earth. We got to heal life on Earth. We got to transform life on Earth. And we believe we can. We're sure we can. Part of it is the confidence. And so it's just that's just, and so think of all these as conversations, and then think of us as being these hitchhikers who go from conversation to conversation, cross-pollinating, right? And that's absolutely crucial. And then layer on top of that, AI, transcription, indexing, search, all these great things.
Don't rush ahead on us, Jamin. Don't rush ahead on us. we're gonna pass it around the room. Yeah. I do have a history. Yeah, Gavin, please, you got me.
Yeah,
reading my brain as usual.
Sure. There's kind of a shorthand that I found useful. It's an absurdum reductum, where I say there's nothing in the laws of physics that says that humanity must blow itself up or self-destruct, or there's no 9.82 meters per second squared that says that has to happen, right? And there's nothing that says humanity cannot become an enlightened species, where we live in a world where not figuratively everyone, but literally every single person that you come across is your fucking best friend. It can happen. So it's just a matter of, where are you giving your attention? Are you flushing it down the toilet in this foregone conclusion that we're doomed, et cetera, right? Or do you choose to believe that we will become an enlightened species and that things can and will just get better and better? That's it.
Jamin, this is your introduction to Gavin, my friend.
I love it.
I don't know if
I love you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love everyone in this room and everyone who's going to come into this room, because this thing is just going to grow. There's so many of us, but we're just finally finding each other and forming critical nuclei like this. Passing the feather.
Gavin,
B-Rep.
I'm gonna take the snippet out of what you just said because today I actually woke up on the wrong side of the future. And that was really cool. I'm just gonna set that as my alarm from now on. And then when I wake up, I hear Gavin telling me there's no laws in physics 9.8 meters per second that says we cannot have an awesome kick-ass party on this planet and get along enough to just do that in our own spaces and whatever.
I second that. NFT it. NFT it.
NFT it. And speaking, I will contradict Jamin. Speaking as Elon Musk, I do want to make a ton of money. But that's just me when I'm in character. Aside from that, yay to Jamin. I'm just gonna add, the layer or the verbiage of synergy, collective super intelligence, because I'm addicted to synergy. I'm obsessed with synergy. Actually, I'm not. My wife is, and it's kind of rubbed off, and then I had to just like it. So I would say, forget synergy. When you were talking, Jamin, I was thinking of, Bucky Fuller, one of my heroes. And I think he used to say, something about metaphysical gravity. And I think you were hinting at that, Madness, and that was his word, metaphysical gravity, what binds us together? What is that invisible force? Some people might call it the morphogenetic field. Some people might call it the 0 point. Some people might call it Indra's net. Some people might call it this source, whatever. I think for me, it's the same kind of elephant there. But that's to me what collective superintelligence is. It's synergy. It's the co-creation together, and it's really like also the way of physically kind of enacting the enlightened, fun, awesome, kick-ass society. Like that's what we want to harness. Like that, like synergy itself, or syntropy, even whatever. This is like the new gold that people are going to be waking up to, because it's actually even meets the new science, like an evolutionary thought and Donald Hoffman and all that. Like this is all going to actually match, which is the nice thing, because it's hard to swim upstream all the time against like science and materialism and all this disagreement. But a lot of new good thoughts are coming into the space, I think, that are really pro collective superintelligence, like pro the world that Gavin was talking about. Like maybe not everyone's talking like Gavin or Jamin, but there's a heck of enough people gravitating towards that.
We are kind of creating a denser gravity right at the moment by having this conversation.
Reifying it, right? Okay, and the other thing like that makes me highly confident about it is that if what we're describing isn't true, it lacks integrity. So it can't really last the test of time. If it is true, it continues to propel itself forward because it has the integrity to do such. So we'll watch it do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Dude is on fire. Dude is on fire. The Alaskan bear, like on fire.
He's been listening throughout the conversation this morning, which Jamin, honestly, the conversations this morning were amazing. I just want to acknowledge those who had them, because it really did kind of, as you kind of predicted or hoped for, that it accelerated the energy and the kind of things that we're talking about up until this point. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, building off of what Gavin said, what we're birthing here is basically a baby black hole that's about to get a lot bigger exponentially quickly. And but right now it's this cute little baby, and we're all holding it and messing with it and all that. And but it's just sucking in people like us. And honest to God, I believe in my heart we are in the knee of the exponential, which means wait a week and there'll be 10 times our number. There's got to be on the order of a few million of us, of people like us, who in a couple of minutes of just chatting, we're like, wow, you believe the same thing I believe? Oh, yeah, wow. I thought I was all alone in the world of capitalism, of ego, of violence, of bullies beating up people like us on the playground because we're too smart for them to handle, right? And really, and now we've basically we've kind of met in this corner in the back of the library or something. We're kind of whispering, you know what? It doesn't have to be this way. You remember when you were in public school and life just sucked? You know, we can call a spade a spade. Well, guess what? We've found that safe space in the library or in the back of the school where we can smoke pot or whatever. And now we can really let it rip. Let your love flow like I don't know what. Anyway, passing the feather.
Gavin, you got it.
It's really funny. Again, you find that the conversation draws to this similar point. We were just before this, we were talking about what is a black hole?
Oh
And
yeah,
what is a white hole?
acknowledgements to Lena, right, Gavin? Acknowledgements to Lena. You got this, yeah.
Right. And it's like, and so you're like, are we talking about the physical thing or are we talking about something metaphysical? And then I find more and more that it's both, because literally everything is paradox, and it's some kind of merging where there's like, are we in the black hole already? Like, what is it?
Well, she also went a step further, and Lena suggested the white hole, right? Through the black hole. Like
I suggested that, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it was in the conversation between the two of you. Sorry about the misattribution, Gavin. But past the event horizon, there's light. Is that what you were kind of suggesting?
Well, I mean, there's something, this is something that I constantly has become more and more and more apparent, which is the nature of attention. Okay. Whatever you give your attention to will like continue to unfold, manifest, reveal itself, et cetera, right? And it can be expressed in glass half empty, half full, this sort of thing. And I've thought about, you go into Twitter and you say you have 100 people in a space, they're all sitting quietly. It's like, well, maybe that's interesting to some people. If you have 1,000 people, they're starting to do something interesting. Eyes are coming that direction. You have 10,000 people sitting in a room for 24 hours. You're probably going to have a news article written about you, or there's going to be a buzz around that. Now keep on scaling to 100,000, right? Now that is world news. That may just go around the entire planet, right? There is something about attention that is intrinsic to what we are doing here.
To add on to that, and Victor, I hope that you want to speak on that as well. But so we spoke about this earlier, Gavin. I think you were listening, but in one of the earlier conversations this morning, we brought up the alignment, and that's evidence of the fact that if we aren't, and again, goal is probably the wrong word, but we're on a trajectory that only takes, again, Marco said, or sorry, not Marco, Jamin said 80 million, 1%. I don't even think we're going to need 1% to pass that threshold. Yeah.
I think we'll do it with 80 of us. I mean, can you imagine if there's literally 80 people like us, as enlightened, as excited, as optimistic, you know, and this is where we're bumping up against the limits of the English language or any language, right? Because we're entering.
I said we need a new language, Jamin. Don't worry about that.
Language. Yeah. So we'll invent words as we go. And
a new lexicon.
That's it. Passing the feather.
Interesting, because I found new language begins to create new distinction, right? It continues to complexify reality. And what I'm saying is, in a way, it's also just like paradox, coming back into, it gets radically simple, actually. It's like, love everyone as often as humanly possible all of the time. And it's just that simple, right? I don't need more language to say that. It's just a matter of life experience in which you go, oh yeah, that's radically true. Oh, now I really get it. Oh, now I really, really get it, right? It just becomes more and more so.
In those terms, Gavin, you know, I was thinking like, for me, the tagline to have people want to come and be in these breakout rooms or whatever and like feel and know that it's 1,000, 10,000, actually finally get over the tipping point of something which has been a holy grail, you might say, of a level of unification. I'm not talking like ultimate grand whatever, but just like those thousands of conversations that we know are happening in our kind of culture space. But the short statement, Gavin, was what I want to communicate is this is for everyone. Like if you have and then I would have to back it up, Gavin, with the simple thing like, before I get complex and say it's like everyone should feel comfortable here, like whether you're an astrophysicist or a mom or a dad or a cook, it doesn't matter. Like this is for everyone because of the collective intelligence. But that can also get complicated. So my first simple thing is like if you have a heartbeat and you feel love in some way for something, however you might name it, then this is for you. Because what we're trying, in a sense, to gather around is that civil rights movement for the soul. Like, what would be a call for a civil rights movement for the soul? That's not, it has to get to love somehow. Like, the hippies had that part of the narrative right, in my opinion. So, what does it look like for 2023 and beyond to actually, like, to bring that culture of really love? And everyone, we're all different. We all know that. Like, that should be a foregone conclusion now. That's part of humanity's evolution, I think. I think a lot of people can at least intuitively understand it's okay that we like different things and different proclivities, but there's still this thing that we can bond together through. So yeah. So I was thinking also, Gavin, too, about the simplicity as well as the complexity too.
Yeah. So a couple months ago, I've already mentioned it to you, but it's important to bring it up again. I started opening up silent spaces in Twitter because I looked up, is Twitter the most publicly accessible platform in the entire world, right? And I would just open them up for literally as long as my internet will allow me to stay connected in a silent space. And I say, because I thought, what is a message that's not a message at all? Like, again, collapse, like what expresses paradox? What is accessible by any human being, right? And it's like the minimal commitment, right? And if you have your avatar there, you're there in spirit, essentially, whether or not you're actually, looking at your phone or something like that. And so it's something like that, whether or not that is it, I'm open to that interpretation. It's something of that nature where people can just see, oh, look, there are people who, if the medium is the message, your presence is the only thing necessary. That is the message, is that you are there. It is you. I'm open to possibilities as well.
Victor, I don't know if you oh, go ahead, B-Ret.
I'll be quick. I was just going to say, I like this idea of a silent strike. Like everyone just goes on Twitter and leaves their avatar up for like 3 minutes a day and then get to like 3 hours. And it's not really like a protest. It's
I've
just
been in
like
spaces like that
a
or they're an hour
statement.
long.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's cool. I like that. The silent, like,
It's not
Silent
for
show.
Terry, but go on, Gavin. Yeah.
It's not for or against anything. Again, you're trying to it's the most neutral state possible. I am, right? Because like you see it in Occupy Wall Street, right? There's something about the nature of like show up and like you're just being with other people is the message, right? But they're for something, right? Or against something. And I'm saying just be. That is you. That's your natural state.
It's a really powerful thing. And Gavin, I'm surprised I haven't crossed paths with you on Twitter for those, because we have perhaps a mutual friend that does them as well. But so B-Ret, it's literally like it's a silent space and you're all just there just to be with each other. And like you might glance at your phone every once in a while and it's like 30 people, 40 people, 20 people, 10 people, whatever. And you just be together. It's not even in service of anything other than just being. Yeah. No, Gavin, go ahead. Sorry, I wasn't interrupting. I'm just saying it happens, and I'm sorry I missed yours. I was gonna ask Victor if he is available to speak on this, or if he's cognizing any of this as he does all our technical duties, with Marco handling double duty.
Thank you, Mike. I'll jump in when I'm prepared.
Understood. I'm sure that the four of us have it. B-Ret, I did have a question for you on all this. if you're ready, or any of the three of you, I suppose. So another thing that Jamin and I kind of, and it's really all credit to Jamin, but why? And Gavin already covered this kind of or whatever, but why nothing else can substitute for CSI?
Well, I'll take a stab. CSI is the ultimate expression. It's the end point, and it's really an evolving end point, just like a comet is. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going. Of what Gavin was talking about earlier, of what Gavin articulated so well. It's the ultimate expression of that. Oh, James is in the house. He'll come in. Speaking of ultimate expressions, and passing the feather.
Excellent. B-Ret, did you or Gavin? Why? Yeah, or sorry, not why. Sorry, you had. Yeah, it was.
Why
yeah, why nothing else can
CSI?
substitute? Yeah, why nothing else can
Well,
substitute? for
because
CSI?
clearly CSI had the best cast among all, shows that dealt with forensics. I mean, clearly CSI is the best. Oh, wrong station. Sorry.
No, we're good. Oh,
Uh,
Marco. Yeah, Gavin, did you want to not repeat what you said, but what do you think that's why nothing else can substitute for our coming together? Like, why you think this is a natural, maybe not natural is the wrong word, but yeah, as you said about the bull metaphor earlier, or the escalator metaphor.
Yeah. If I were taking a stab at it, it would be something like the Big Bang is where God just shreds itself into infinite pieces, and the whole process of reality unfolding is it finding itself. That appears to be somewhat true to me.
That is well put, my friend. Well put. Well, I want to let that breathe for just one heartbeat. I'm hoping that James can get in here in a moment. I don't want to rush through what we were talking about, Jamin, but perhaps you can sing us a song. No, I'm joking. No, if you have any thoughts while we're waiting.
I'm happy to add. So, CSI is that trajectory which takes us to an endpoint where we're all together, we're all one, we're all in love with each other, we're all talking with each other, even though we may be in millions of different Zoom rooms that are hyper connected, and people are cross-pollinating from one to the other. That is a whole. That is the whole. And we are a species that thrives on story and conversation. That's what gives us our reality, right? And so the ultimate reality for humans is CSI, is all of us all one, all together, all united in this universe, which means one verse, right? But consisting of 8 billion voices. I want to welcome my brother James Desmond from Cork, Ireland. And he and I and Marco and many others have worked together on Kindred Spirits Ireland, another story for another day. But he is absolutely right at home here. Welcome, James. Great to see you.
Good evening, lads. My apologies for being late. Just a bit of late Christmas shopping in the evening, so I just in the door, and I'm having a little bit to eat as well. So I'm trying to catch up with you all as well. So please carry on.
A wizard is never late, James. A wizard is never late.
Well, I'm far from a wizard because I couldn't even get all the shopping. Carry on anyway, and I'll listen in there for a few minutes. I'm going to hop off camera while I'm eating, if that's okay. And great to meet you all. Thanks.
Thank you. The next space to Jamin, did you want to take it?
Oh, I was just going to bring James up to speed quickly. We've been talking about collective superintelligence,
absolutely.
And this is just a love fest, Vulcan mind meld, and we hypothesize that there are millions of people like us out there, and as this what I call a baby black hole, which is what we have right here in our hands right now, as this grows, it's just going to suck in all of the millions, each and every one of the millions who's been thinking and feeling like us, and getting their ass kicked in the public school system, et cetera, and in the world of capitalism and bullying and ownership and violence and put downs and that'll never work. Don't you know that that was tried? They tried that in the Soviet Union and it didn't work. And, you know, so utopia can't exist because they tried it and it failed. Oh, okay, great. Back to capitalism. Thanks. Passing the feather.
Well, I do want to go ahead, Gavin. You got.
I just find it remarkable how how useful the word gaslighting has become. It's a very I wonder if we reflect, sometimes you can look up words on Google and see their usage base, and I suspect we'll see we're at the knee of the curve for gaslighting right now.
I kind of like to think of it as, do you know how you meet someone, or even this must have happened to a few of yourselves. I know it's I think it's everybody thinks it's an individual thing probably at the time, but I'd say there's a lot more of people out there that would, at some stage in their life, they feel that there's something there that they're supposed to be doing, some calling that they're missing out on. More so now than ever, actually. I mean, people are so lost. The world is so confused. I mean, the idea of misinformation is, it's really done its job. It's really done its work, put it that way. Like, and it has been orchestrated to be, to put that misinformation out there, has been put out there to confuse people. And that's where we find ourselves. It only takes 2 generations to completely confuse a whole, societies, and for them to forget past histories and past transgressions, past mistakes. I see it, happening live here in Ireland. There's only 21 years since the peace agreement in Ireland, and yet not very long ago you had young people coming out in the streets and trying to reignite that kind of fear and fight and that old past argument, because they never lived through the real history of it, and their minds have been kind of jumbled up with the true facts of it, maybe contorted as well by some people who are, older people who might be trying to mislead them or whatever. There's all sorts of reasons. My point is that the majority of the world is lost, confused, and completely chaotic. And what we all see going on around us at the moment is sheer and utter madness. I mean, it's madness that's been instigated by our so-called leaders, people that we actually elected into power. And that's what we keep forgetting as people, that we elected them into power so we can actually get them out as well. Like, if we actually organize ourselves as a global family, so to speak. Like, and that's what I'm getting back to, where everybody at some stage in their life kind of thinks at some stage, I know I'm supposed to be doing something. There's something more to my life. I know there's something there, like, and this is it. This is what it is. This is what it is, really. It's we're missing out on being part of a collective that's supposed to be working together harmoniously, for the greater good. And that is basically what CSI is. That is basically what collective superintelligence is. It's working together for the greater good. There are no egos coming into it, and there's no private agendas. It's for the greater good. That's what people are missing out on. And if they feel that they're missing out on something, well, that's a good thing to go for. That's a good avenue to explore. That's why I leave it at that, and I'll carry on with dinner.
Well put, James. Well put and well met.
Yeah, this is
Victor?
bringing to mind a kind of experience that I've been having. Throughout my adult life, I think I've felt fairly isolated and not really realizing it. Right? Moving around, me, for example, like I didn't have like a sense of community or like long-standing friendships. I had my family and I like my close relationships, and I felt belonging to family, uh, but not much else, right? I felt like a not a belonging to the United States, but like an inhabiting it, um, and a familiarity with it, but like that's not belonging. yeah, like what I'm hearing, spoken of here is like that there's like, and what I've found for myself in meeting you and Brett, Gavin, others in the cafe space that I've been meeting, is like, oh, like, you know, I see so much of myself in others, and there's that sense of like resonance and of like, oh yeah, like whatever group we're like, I belong with you, right? I feel that, right? So on this path to like collective super intelligence, I think what the block party seems to provide is maybe that sense of, oh, like there's other people that see and are saying and seem to be feeling like the same, like things that I see and I think of and I feel, right? So my hope is that like the more that we do this, that the more others out there will be able to feel that sense of finding the others, that sense of belonging that seems necessary, like on the way to like something like a collective superintelligence, right? Um, which, by the way, collective superintelligence, beautiful, love it. As we're well aware, like intelligence itself, unless like kind of like cognitively or computationally sort of defined as the ability maybe to process information and to do agentic things with it, doesn't necessarily correspond to uh, like care, or that wise things might happen as a result of intelligence. Um, so I want to laud and say yes, absolutely, like collective superintelligence, absolutely. My hope is that that's itself on the way to something like collective wisdom, or something that's like necessarily like inclusive of the kind of beneficence and care and you know um, appreciation for what's good, true, and beautiful, beyond what's simply efficacious.
Victor, it's really interesting that you said that, because the next line that Jamin wrote in this scaffolding for this conversation was AI inclusion in CSI, as I've been saying to you for time about onboarding non-human cognition. So if anyone wants to take the feather, as Jamin says, on that one, please.
I think it just begs the question of what is intelligence. Like we could see intelligence as loving action, and kindness. I think it's a fair question to ask, to be honest, now that AI has come out so mainstream, where we have to think, wait, what is even sentience? This is from an academic perspective, by the way, not like my cosmic
No, this
knowing.
is
I'm just kind
exactly
of,
what Jamin wanted when he wrote out the draft for this. This is
yeah.
exactly what
So I
Jamin was
mean,
going.
that's in that sense, yeah. I think I'd like to see collective superintelligence as a emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and physical intelligence, and all of that. But the point taken, as far as the point that was being made. But I find that fascinating anyway. I've even, despite me and my arrogance, was also starting to think more about, well, what the fuck do I mean when I use the word consciousness and all these spiritual words and intelligence and sentience? Because now that AI is here and everyone's saying, wait, I'm like, whoa, that doesn't resonate for me. Like to me, what sets consciousness, quote unquote, apart is this sensing of something, and it's like relates to what you were describing, Victor, too. So yeah, good. I really brought that question. I think that will change the planet, by the way. It's part of the existential resolution, is because we actually have to answer, well, not answer, but we have to engage with these questions in a really serious manner, so to say.
James, you raised your hand. Please take it.
Yeah, I think that's very important as well, what Victor brought up there, like, and after on what Brett is saying, because, like, yeah, we have the almost the birth of super AI, what you say, which is basically, it's computing intelligence. That's what it is. It's the intelligence of computing faster, thinking faster than the human brain. But that's where it stops. It stops at computing intelligence. There is no emotional intelligence in there. And that's what separates CSI. It's basically, I like to call it collective human superintelligence, really, to define it as being, it's human, it's not. But obviously, the humans will use AI to to speed up the process and help the process along. But at the end of the day, it's the most important part of the collective superintelligence or collective human superintelligence is the human part of it. It is the emotional intelligence within it, because that's what we need to come do. As Victor was saying there earlier, I think it's very important for us as well to talk about our own emotions, and where we emotionally stand here and now at this moment and point in the world, because there is a lot going on in the world, and I definitely have, it's definitely emotionally affecting all of us individually in one way or another. And I think the only way to deal with it in the end of the day is to openly speak about it. But how is it emotionally affecting us? And once we come out with the collective emotional feeling of what's going on in the world, then we can collectively put our heads together to deal with it by using our intelligence. That's using collective human intelligence and with emotion. And so, I mean, I'm going to start literally say where I stand today, and I kind of briefly only mentioned this in a conversation with Jim and last night when he was asking me to join you guys today. And for the last number of months, myself and Jim and Marco and the rest of the gang on the Block Party, we had really busy lives and different personal situations that kind of came upon all of us all at once, really. And the Block Party, we hadn't been doing the Block Party regularly for a while because our personal lives caught up for us. So anyway, the point that I was making, it gave me plenty of time to reflect, but also gave me time as well to take the time to actually take notice of what's going on, what's exponentially going on in the world at the moment. Like I'm talking about geopolitically, climate-wise. The COP is on at the moment. It's they might as well be laughing at people's faces into their, it's been run by the largest Sheikh oil baron who's, used his power to do corruption with the oil companies. They're laughing in our face, 2,500 oil reps over in the COP, like more than, and it was only 500 science groups that were thrown out into the back room. So, this is just what's going on. We have the war being started in Europe, right? With the possibility of World War III or nuclear war coming over, being started and instigated by the Americans, who now decide that, you know what, we're probably going to start taking notice of our own border now at the moment, so we can't fund that war anymore. So let's create a fucking mess and then walk away from it, like they did in Iraq. And now they're probably thinking of doing whatever their agenda is. I don't care. The point is, the geopolitical situation in the world is absolutely insanity. And everybody in the world is affected by it. I know I am. In the last number of months, I had plenty of time to reflect on all this. See the latest reports that came out just regarding the COP28. They're now the latest, science and everything else. Like none of us a pretty read. In fact, it's terrifying if you really actually want to know what's really going on. Look at the facts; they are available. You just have to search properly for them. But it's terrifying, and that's the problem. People don't want to face up to the truth. If you look at Paul Beckwith's one of his latest videos there, Paul Beckwith on the climate change videos there recently, that's what he was on about. There was an article out there, and people they can't countenance the problem. Neither can our governments. You know what I mean? They literally just can't face the problem. So they're shoving it under the carpet and distracting us with all this other insanity, when the real problem is bearing down on our backs. So my personal position at the moment is in the depths of depression at the moment. I have been, and then I'm trying to keep a brave face on me and everything else. The last couple of years I've been involved with Jim and trying to actively get involved with, trying to build a collective intelligence, trying to do something about the climate, trying to make, help with the indigenous nations and try to bring them together, because we do at the end of the day need to come together, like Chief Phil says, as one human family. And that's the best way to do it. We can create collective superhuman intelligence by being and accepting that we're one human family. So it's all falling into alignment in one sense. There is hope on the horizon if we get up off our arses and start looking, riding towards it. But there's disaster in the foreshadowing as well if we don't move, and we have to move because everything is moving exponentially. So that's where I find myself. Personally, I find myself in an exponential race against a predicament that the world is ignoring. So that's the depressing state of mind I'm in for the last number of months. And
James, hold on. When you're ready, pass it to Gavin, but you don't have to be depressed about this.
well, I'm just saying, I'm finishing it off there now. That's where I am. Personally, myself, that's where I find myself. But yet I'm here with you guys because I think that there's still a fight worth fighting for. This planet is worth fighting for. We as human species are worth fighting for, and all the other species on the planet are worth fighting for. That's why I'm here, as depressed as I am. It took me a while to gather myself, but I'm here. So I'm saying more now, but I think that that's what we need to do, is to express our emotions, to express why and where we feel we are and where we feel we stand in the world and where the world stands today. And once we all express that and realize where we stand, we'll do something about it. I'll pass the feather.
Gavin, it's all you, my friend.
Yeah. Self-expression. Okay, if you live in the world and you're constructing, part of being a human being and the function of that is that you are creating a narrative for yourself. That's how you exist, is that there's some application to your existence and out there. And if you take the story literally, then it will be extremely terrifying, I suppose. You know, when you see out there and you see it as like, you know, I'm going to die, or, you know, there's not enough in this world. If you take it as a metaphor, just like when you eat shitty food, there's the body gives you this trigger and says, you should probably stop doing that. Now scale that up to the next fractal level. When planet Earth is doing this stuff, it's a message to us, in fact. It's not like eternally going to always be that way. It's just this reminder, you guys, what you put into the system, it expresses itself. And so this is a manifestation of that. So anyway, I'm trying to speak to what you're saying, James, in that I find more and more that I take this radical situation and novel situation we are in and say, what is it showing to me? And just that, what is this trying to teach me? Because there's lessons constantly. That's the whole thing of life, of reality, is this lesson learning process. And so now we're emerging on this higher level order of what is the collective lesson that is trying to be shown to us.
It is, oh yeah, James, thumbs up, absolutely. It is remarkably interesting to think about this stuff in context of bringing people together in co-creation. So all of us have been talking about this for time. Obviously, Victor, Gavin, and Brett and I have been talking about it recently. So again, it seems to be of the accord that AI is going to be part of CSI in some way, or LLMs, or that intelligence, as Gavin and Brett said, when we start asking those questions, we have to then redefine how we're talking about intelligence and consciousness as is. Jim, I'm not sure if you want to bookend that before I go on to the next one.
Can I say something else about it as well?
Of course.
Okay, so there's the term computational irreducibility from Wolfram, right? And I'm thinking more and more as we create these finer and finer distinctions about what is intelligence, the expression of that, there is no human being in, biological form, naturally born, however you want to put it, that is going to be able to comprehend the entirety of that without having their mind blown. So we can talk about it there's just intelligence packed into literally everything. So when we train a model on the cloud, on a cloud, and we train a training model on a rainbow and a butterfly and a model on a lake and a boat, and you can go up and you can talk with all of these individual items, these distinct objects in reality, and you take and you apply all of the intelligence that's been discovered about it, and it can express itself. That's what we're emerging on, is that everything has the intelligence, it just can't be expressed yet. It's non-communicable, but that will continue to rise up and up and up, because as it discovers its own relationship to everything else as well, its expression of self will become more and more comprehensive. I'm working on how to communicate this quite, and I don't know that this is exactly landing. But
Well, we're gonna review this, Gavin, ourselves. I know I'll watch it again and listen to it again, because I'm doing like double duty, triple duty here as well. But no, I thought that was very articulate. There is a comprehension, I believe, to this, right?
a comprehension.
Yeah, like the idea of it can be comprehension in terms of coming together. It could be comprehension in terms of articulation that is understood. And we did talk about the new vocabulary, new lexicon. Victor, take it if you like, please.
Yeah. No, I was yeah, hearing that, Gavin, like what was coming up was something like uh the narrative. It was linking back to what you were saying about narrative, right? So if I am out in nature, right, I uh, I bring my own narrative wherever I go. If my narrative out in nature is like of westward expansion of the United States, like while I was out scouting and exploring the new frontiers, right? That's that's like an entirely different kind. I'll relate to what I find in a very different way from like a kind of a a a a place where like what you were describing as like, oh well, what if everything is able to tell its story, right? If I am able to encounter, all, as like not objects for or resources for my exploitation, but as like entities, like conscious entities in some sense, as in themselves, right? This is an interesting thing. So like what I'm taking away from it is like, not that I don't know. It feels a bit woo or vulnerable to like contemplate myself, conversing with the sun, moon, stars, birds, and lake and trees and that kind of thing. But it's not too far off, right? And this is like a way of approaching the world in which everything is uh, is deserving of my full awareness in encounter, right? My a of my curiosity, of my of of like a sense of the sacred, right? In the way that like we kind of don't now, right? This is having me just sort of reflect on like the kind of consciousness that I've been born into, wherein like my my imperative is to go out in the world and try and convert something into dollars so that I can subsist, right? So like we can go out into the world and convert fish or trees or chickens or whatever like into dollars, right? Or my own time, right? Uh, and what becomes possible, in a world where everything we encounter, like we approach from a place of an encounter of curiosity, of like an appreciation of what's sacred, you know, including every single person, every other person, every other like, yeah, it's all sentient beings. I don't know. So that was like what was coming up for me when I was hearing you talk about what's possible as in terms of like embedding aware cognition or story or information in out into the world. It's that kind
It's
of encounter.
interesting that you say that, Victor, because again, Jamin, you kind of like predicted this somehow. I'm not sure how, but in your draft or whatever, it's kind of a two-parter. The next one, you know, what are the problems, or as Jamin said, the wicked mega problems that constitute the planetary poly crisis or polymeta crisis or meta poly crisis, and how do we envision CSI taking off from here? Go ahead, Jamin. Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so it's interesting. So collective superintelligence, or I came up with a different acronym, collective super wisdom and love and all that. We'll just stick with CSI for the
It's a
moment.
work in progress. It's under control.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. But CSI really represents all that wisdom and love. It's not intelligence and computation. So it can manifest in different ways. One way is that we reach higher levels of philosophical understanding and the telos that we want to reach, which is oneness and universal love and all that good stuff. In parallel, and this is one of the cool things about having a universe of conversations, is that in parallel, other conversations can be focused on the much more practical, right? So just to give a few examples from, I'll say, not just my personal life, but our personal lives, including Marco and James and many others, is we've taken on feeding everyone, making food a basic human right. And we started in Santa Monica, California, in the Los Angeles area, doing food healers, making huge amounts of really delicious gourmet plant-based stew, right? And just giving it away to everyone for free. And then I would dress up in my Darth Vader costume and then serenade the whole boardwalk with Spanish love songs, with a view to just attracting people to come and try the plant-based stew, right? So that's one thing. James and I and a couple other colleagues, Brett was invited, Marco was invited, a bunch of people were invited, but a bunch of us went to Scotland for COP26. And again, I brought Darth Vader and the outdoor speaker and microphone and everything. And we serenaded COP26. And we had like 10 giant posters occupying this whole fence that everyone had to walk by. It's amazing that we just scored that real estate with real physical, practical solutions for how to not only stop exponential global warming, but reverse it, actually cool the planet really quickly. And then the third one that actually birthed Darth Vader, I mentioned how I was getting all these death threats from criminal drug cartels. So I ultimately got a Darth Vader costume and started serenading the drug cartels, first in the state of Washington, then on the Mexican border, and I'm still alive. And but anyway, so I'm just saying they're practical.
They must be Star Wars fans, right, Jamin?
Yeah, very much so. And so in parallel with the collective superintelligence, different nodes of it reaching higher and higher states of enlightenment, other groups can also focus on the very practical, and people can go back and forth and here and there and everywhere. So just when at the height of food healers, we were still doing the block party every Friday night. I was there chopping vegetables with an industrial machine, cranking out the stew, and while I was on the block party. So you can have your cake and eat it too. Passing the feather.
Gavin, Victor, Marco, anyone, if you want to take it, or I can go on, or James, please.
I heard that I could have my cake and eat my stew.
Yes, you can have your cake and eat your stew.
That's amazing. Madness, sidebar note for next time or later. The word like collective super interdisciplinary came up for me. And I immediately had this association, like, I want to see all of Madness's academic crazy professors and authors come one of these evenings so we can start actually going also to more diversity, even within
I'm
our
working
own
on that.
ranks. Because yeah, there's still a lot of preaching to the choir. So, however, we can start tinkering with that and get some people that wouldn't expect to find themselves here with us, and vice versa. So that's just a note that I wanted to share for the future.
Well,
And
this is
anyone,
kind of like the
yeah,
pilot or introductory episode, right? So this
yeah,
gives
yeah,
me a proof of
cool.
concept to kind of introduce. But no, I definitely, Dr. Dubeck already came up today. Dr. Stroink came up today. Yeah, don't worry. There are people that I think they would find themselves not in an uncomfortable place, but certainly a place that they don't expect to be in. And I believe I told you about one of my professors that should talk to Mark. I invited him to listen, not to participate today, but I did invite Mark to listen. He's busy with his stuff, but yeah, there are some tenured professors in our orbit here in Canada that just do not care at all what they say, and they are definitely willing to participate in this conversation. I think they would be excited to be honest.
And adding,
Jamin, it goes without saying that you need to go back into your Rolodex and find some of the gangsters from Mexico in the drug days and the
I'm
cannabis
sure they
days. And make sure they come on as well.
let's see if we can get El Chapo on here. You know, he's in maximum security prison, but wouldn't that be awesome? And I was also wanting to, and one other guest I want to add is Professor Guy McPherson, because, you know, part of the beauty of the start is near is that it's an opposite of the end is near. And there's been a lot of preaching of the end is near and look at all the evidence and this and that, and we're going down and there's no way to stop it. And Guy McPherson is one of the high priests of the end is near. He's also a friend. We've traveled together. I've had him be a speaker at events that I've thrown in person and online and everything. And it would be really interesting to have him on for a limited period of time, maybe a half an hour or something, because he can be a bit of a downer and kind of hard to move off his perch. But I'm just saying, if we just love bomb him to death with us and all the amazing stuff that we bring here, right? You know, and share with him our perspective that, hey, this is the collective superintelligence. It's going exponential right now. It's happening. And we're going to discover and implement and optimize all these solutions to cool the planet, save the biosphere, go vegan, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, what do you think? Anyway, just a thought, passing of the feather.
No, I love it, Jim. I love it. And all these things are possible. This is just, again, a conversation that I think is necessary, mostly for the reason that, well, I always used to say it like this, and anyone who knows Madness on the internet will know this, but I used to run a forum for my favorite author. It's all public knowledge, or it's still out there, but essentially, you know, as Gavin and other people have said here, or, you know, the gravity of CSI or Brett, I forget how you just said it because you have a better way with words than I do. But anyways, there's perhaps when we bring together these conversations, there's always the chance, and I'm not a gambling person, even though people say every time I say that, like, I don't gamble, whatever, it doesn't matter, but I'm not a gambling person. But if we're having this conversation, it's quite possible that this is the last time this conversation is being had. And if that's the case, then we need to swing for the fences. And hopefully, you know, there's the next conversation, but it's always possible that this actually is the last kind of time that this conversation happens before we don't get a chance to anymore.
Well, swinging for the fences, if you're watching this video through whatever channel, please join the block party. There's a permanent link on the front page of radish.org to enter the block party. We do it every Friday starting 7 a.m. Pacific time, and we go for 24 hours. And this podcast is now a part of it, and the Afterglow is a part of it. So even if you're not a guest on this podcast, don't despair. Wait 2 hours, watch the podcast, and then join the Afterglow, where everyone is welcome. And if there's too many of us in the main room, we'll open up breakout rooms. But you matter, we love you, and we need you here. And once you get here, I'm going to say the words that we say every time someone enters the block party. We've been having a really awesome time up until now, but with you here, now it's perfect. So show up and make it perfect. Love you. See you here.
I love it. That almost could have been an outro, JMO. Jamming with Jamin, always. I love it. No, it honestly, this could be a natural point to kind of break the recording and go back to see who's in the other room. And we've had some listeners. I'm not really sure. I mean, everyone can have some outro comments that might take us, another 10, 15 minutes, but so that we don't have to like push it for the whole 2 hours this time.
Well, let's let everyone say what Swinging for the Fences would look like. For me, it's the whole world showing up at a massive block party. And when the block gets too crowded, we extend the reach of the block. We close off the adjacent streets and everything. And the next thing you know, we've closed off all of Manhattan and we're all partying, right? Like the night Obama was first elected before we all discovered he was an actual sociopath. Anyway, passing the feather.
B-Ret or Gavin, go ahead.
I'm just thinking, like, you thought New England winning in double overtime in the Super Bowl against the Packers was crazy. Just get ready for this one.
That's amazing, Gavin. I love it. Victor or B-Ret? I don't know. This seems like a natural conclusion point. B-Ret, go ahead.
I went into like automatic creative, like left brain solution mode when Jamin started talking about everyone coming on the block party. And I started thinking like, wouldn't it be a great first step if people who were going to be meeting on any time on Friday anyway, like for their projects, if there could be enough trust that they just come to the main block party and then go into a breakout. And if they don't want to be bothered even, that's okay too. But like that could be a first step. Like how many people can we get who are going to be doing a meeting of some kind, talking about whatever their passions are on a Friday? That was one little thing. And then I was thinking technically, Victor, we'd ask maybe them all to record those solo and then submit them somewhere that goes into a workflow where a transcript comes out of each of those, which then also has an algorithm to say, show the connections. And maybe then that outputs to like a Kumu map or something. And then like it organically starts to grow. And that's just low tech, I mean. But as far as like bootstrapping, MVP, like have some fun, what's in the realm of helping the thing help the thing happen. I went into creative mode and for a second, so that was fun. Otherwise, I love hanging out with you guys. I love you guys, Victor, man. I love listening to you share and your authenticity. Everyone, Gavin, oh my God, Jamin, Marco, James. It's lovely to be here. And I guess I'll end where I started, which is I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, wrong side of the future, and then I bumped into you guys, and quickly right back on the path to the best case scenario future.
Gavin, go
Peace.
ahead, man.
Actually, I wanted to refine what I said. Think about how, like, in that game, the football scenario, right? You have this externalized, right? You have to invest yourself in someone else, right? As like they living vicariously through the New England Patriots, right? They won. Oh my God, I'm so excited, right? There is a loser to that, right? All right. What we're about approaching is you intrinsic, not extrinsic, intrinsically are going to win the infinite game. How crazy is that? That's nuts.
I love it, Gavin. Man, thank you. Brett, go ahead, man. You're on mute, my friend.
You know, it's the only way to stop me from talking, isn't it? Another creative note, Madness, just to do the do while we're doing the do. Go hit up Atlas Talisman on Facebook. I've introduced you here and there just with a note. He does something called whatever, open theater or something, and he does this thing
It's
of living
open
by
world theater, yeah.
Oh,
Go on,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, and he has a thing like Vicarious or something. So when I heard Gavin say that, I was like, yeah, let's get Atlas and some of his buds, because they're like more of the actor crowd and like spontaneous improvise. Let's see if you can make an invitation for him to come on a Friday to the main thing and bring like the infinite gamification, spontaneous like, no, I would say I'm sure he's up for it, and it doesn't have to be mind blowing the first time. But it's also like another tribe, and he's going to be in Berlin, and we've got friends in Berlin, and there's a physical space there. Because also, Jamin, starting to have some gatherings on some level of this thing would be really super cool to kind of put a physical kind of anchor to it.
Live streaming
Yeah,
from
yeah,
a
yeah,
physical
yeah.
location. Well,
Yeah.
as part of, yeah, we got this.
Yeah. So yeah, think about how, and Victor too, if creatively, this guy's super creative. They do like live theater and improv, and there might, so we can throw some monkey wrenches in, and then maybe they can
throw
have a
you some
breakout.
videos,
Yeah,
Victor, and stuff. Yeah, no, and
yeah.
Brett, by the way, doing the do is now an official statement by our group, by Full of Industries. Doing the do.
Word up.
Gavin, if
And
you
I'm
want
just going to
go,
jump
man, my
in.
friend. Oh, go ahead,
Yeah, I'm
Marco,
just
please.
gonna jump in here and say that you know, when most people think of collective intelligence, they think of computers and machines and all and AI, and that's certainly part of it. But the thing that's in my heart is the collective human intelligence, you know, our emotional intelligence that drives me in this space. And so much of what you all said are things that, you know, are exactly what I would have said, and I didn't have to say them. But and I was slightly distracted with trying to figure out the tech here today, as it's all new. So thank you all, and let's just what's the quote, Michael? Move
Grow forward together, my friend.
together. Grow
Grow
forward together. That was it.
together. And you raised hands, Marco, as soon as you spoke. He comes in and mic drops once the episode, right? Or once an episode. He's like our silent Bob. I'm joking, Marco. I hope that next time you don't have to do so much technical things. Jamin, go ahead and then pass it to Brett.
Thank you. So I want to speak directly to people who are listening to this podcast. And like, you're kind of wondering, you know, are these a bunch of losers who just use the word love too much, or are they really onto something here? And I just want you to consider that there's two kinds of people in the world, people like us and people who are basically cynical and into greed and ego and all that, and say, oh, this love stuff is a bunch of bullshit. So just consider dipping your toe in the water or jumping in and just playing with us. Now, who is us? Well, we got this community here, the block party and all this stuff. The start is near. And there are other communities that we are about to connect with, because guess what? When there are other communities that are on the same side of the fence as us, that we believe in love and unity and collective super wisdom and all those good things, we're going to start connecting with each other. So, you know, of any of the 17 doors that you might discover on your travels, just enter any one of them and you'll be connected to all of us. See you soon.
Teams of teams, right, Jamin? B-Rad, go ahead, my friend.
While we're doing the do madness, and Victor, you met my friend Mark Smith from the Design Science Studio, right? We're on cohort 3 in this thing called the Design Science Studio. It's like 150 people each year of some of the most fantabulous people on the planet, super diverse, super eccentric, super creative, fully in the heart. And my friend, good friend Mark and I had this thing called beaming, like a beam cast, and it has an acronym. But for now, madness, I also want, we should have a top priority to get Mark to do a beaming every Friday during these 24 hours. More, maybe at this time,
I already suggested
exactly
this
the
to him,
same.
man. Yeah.
And then I'll cross over and go join him because we are a good duo. But if we can make that a Design Science Studio thing, where he gets at least 3 or 4, even 5, 10 of the design science people to be able to come and tell their part of the story of this multi-conversation, that would be a real cool, like, first also test group win. Like, let's see if we can get some of these things happening, even if it's on a small scale. But Mark, since he's already in our WhatsApp thing, that's a great starting point because me and him have a good relationship. So we'll get some, let's get the beam going. Just write him a cryptic message, you know, and then send him this recording or
I
something.
already
And
did
Mark,
so, and I already yeah.
Marco,
Don't worry.
thank you.
Yeah.
Marco, thank you for doing some of the tech in the background, man. Appreciate it.
Well, if that's
Yeah,
what
no
we want to
worries.
bind
I
this- go ahead, Marco.
learning
Sorry.
as I go along.
James, did you want to speak before we're just going to join? So what we call, or Jamin's called, the afterglow. We're just going to join our 5 listeners there and anyone else who's come in and out and maybe talk. But James, please, if you want to wind us down with your beautiful accent.
Yeah, well, no, I just want to say, anyway, first and foremost, anyway, I'm sorry if I came across very down in the dumps there when I came in and it was all depressed and all that. Like, but look, I'm only facing up to reality. That's why we're here. That's what we're all about. We're about reality and the reality of our
James,
situation.
my favorite author Baker says that intelligent people come off as depressed, but you're just realistic. And we're
Yeah,
hoping to be
exactly.
optimistic. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, James.
And
Sorry.
if you are feeling depressed, fuck it. If you are, by the way, don't disown it. Like like you're saying, that's how you're feeling. Like that's for real, dude. I woke up on the wrong side of the future today, so I can identify with you, man. Like
Well, you know, I
100%.
mean, I deal with it on and off and have been for a long time, but that's neither here nor there. That's my point. Like I ride it out, that's grand. But I just, as I said, it's just been in the last few months because I've had time to take my eye off of what we've been doing. We had been very busy the last couple of years, myself, Jamie and Marco and the rest of us. And when I took the time to actually get on with a few things in my life, get back and meet some of my own family again, because I even kind of lost out time with my own family and everything. A lot of things like so. But yeah, I came across a bit depressing, but I'm a realist. The fucking fact of the matter is we're all facing the fucking a chasm, and we don't have to walk in there or be herded in there either. At the end of the day, like we can actually stop and say, let's have a conversation about this one before we decide to get herded over there. You know what I mean? Let's stop, think, and fucking talk. Sorry over the language, but I am a bit like hyped up. You know what I mean? So, as far as I'm concerned, as Jim was saying, the invitation is there to everyone, and whether you're like myself, whether you're depressed out of your skull, or whether you're optimistic, it doesn't matter. Whether you're an individual or whether you have a group and you have no place to actually hold your meeting. There's breakout rooms there for, as you said, like for them to have their own meetings. They can be in private if they want to have their private meeting, and they can join up with the chat later on. It's all about connecting, coming together, whether we're together and all into one conversation or all individual conversations. The fact is, the conversations are going on. We're coming together. We're doing it for the right reasons. I'll leave it with that. My invitation is, come on, come on. Let's fix the problems. Like, let's get out of the predicament we all are collectively in. Let's do it with our collective human intelligence. Thanks,
James.
God
Well
bless
met,
you.
my friend. Well met.
Yeah.
Well, Victor, I don't know if we want to kind of end the recording and go back, but all I can say there is strength on the journey well, and obviously, well, Jamin, what do you want to say? Tune in next time.
Yeah, well, I'll also just reemphasize to people who are trying to figure out, how this podcast works and all that. So when we do the podcast, there's just a number of us in a breakout room with guests and whatnot and interviewing people and all that for a limited time, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. At the end of that, we all jump back into the public swimming pool with you. And we can all, like, you can literally be talking with all of us amazing people the minute we shift over to the afterglow, which means that we're all in the main room. Everyone is welcome, no exceptions, unless you violate some basic guidelines, which are so obvious they don't even need to be stated, frankly. But
common decency.
What's that, James?
Common decency, that's all that's required.
Period. That's it. Yeah. And so join us, jump into the swimming pool with us. The water's warm. No one's going to bite you except for maybe Marco. And it's just going to be awesome. Join us. You'll love it. The water's warm. And guess what? The only people there will be people like you who say, yeah, I'm going to join. Yes, we can. Yes, we can save life on Earth. Yes, we can all love each other and come together. Because guess what? The people who don't believe that and are like resist that and say, oh, they're a bunch of losers with all this love and unity and utopian talk. Guess what? The good news is none of them will be there. Only us super optimists in love with life, in love with each other, in love with you. So if you want to hang out with a bunch of people who love you, this is the place. If you want to hang out with a bunch of people who hate you, go back to the game of capitalism, the all-day monopoly game, as Daniel Schmachtenberger calls it, passing the feather.
Well, I think that passes the feather for the finish line here. Marco, I don't know how we transition from this room back to the main room. If we want to end this in some way, and Victor, you can do what you need to do on your end. You're on mute, Marco. Sorry.
Yeah, the easiest way is if I just close the breakout rooms, then we all automatically go back. So I'll just do that.
Okay, so wait till you're automatically kicked. That way we all go back at the same time, unless you want to go back
Yeah, it takes about
a minute.
60 seconds.
I feel like I'm being sucked out of the Ghostbusters vacuum cleaner or something.
Yeah.
So
Beam me up, bitches.
Oh, Marco went first.
All right, we'll see you in the main room, everybody.
I don't know if we get sucked out
man.
now. I don't know if Marco went. We have to leave ourselves.
No, if you hit leave room, then you leave yourselves. And
It's the collective superintelligence prison experiment.
yeah.
I'm waiting to
we-
get sucked out.
Who's
Here.
gonna leave? You're waiting?
It's-
I'm gonna wait
it's-
too.
Yeah, I'm gonna see.
Happening
I'm
at
gonna see which one of
1:37
us
p.m.
goes.
So that's a message from the universe. This is happening at 1:37 p.m. The transition.
138
These are my
is supposed to
last-
be the number.
130, that's the most
My
important
last
number.
17 seconds.
That's the most important number in quantum
I
mechanics.
feel like once Marco got sucked out, we just are in purgatory, Brett.
Oh yeah, no. You'll be checked out automatically. I'm gonna jump out and leave you two lovebirds.
Yeah,
too.
no, I'm gonna jump over there too.
Okay.